Hi, and welcome to the Define the Journey podcast, where South Carolina is just right for education and workforce. Hi, everybody. I'm Hannah Horn. Over the next 20 minutes, you're going to hear from two real dynamos about the industry and sector of cybersecurity. Really interesting conversation, and I am so excited to, again, just let you know that there are so many available jobs in South Carolina for those of you who love technology, you love your devices, you love gaming, and are wondering how in the world could I translate this into a career. Where you're going to hear from our two guests. The first guest is Andrew Morris. He's the founder and CEO of Gray Noise Intelligence, born and raised right here in South Carolina. A very interesting story. Andrew, we'll get to you in just a moment. We also have Isaiah Reese, and Isaiah is the CEO and co-founder of Blaze Fire Games, which is a gaming and esports career pathway provider that connects users with a variety of creative talent and skills across the esports industry. Guys, you guys are really going to have to give me the 101 on all of this, because I'm telling you, I'm learning about how popular this career choice is among young people and how real these jobs are, and quite frankly, how much they pay. It's incredible. Andrew, let's start with you. Born and raised in South Carolina. I knew you when you were a high school student at AC Flora High School. How did you get to where you are right now?
Hey, Hannah. So I got really into computers when I was about 12 years old. I was really obsessed with understanding how things worked. And I had the way that it actually got started, the way that it got sparked, was that we had a family computer, and it would have issues that would prevent me from, using it. Something would break or something like that. And I would try to fix it. And I had one problem one time where my computer hard drive just stopped working and it wouldn't work anymore. And my computer wouldn't boot up, and it was awful. I couldn't use the computer. So I Googled around and I tried to figure out some way to use a computer without a hard drive. And I found out that there was a way that you could boot an entire operating system off of a CD. And I had no idea that you could do that. The only problem was the operating system that you would boot was not the Windows operating system. It was a completely different operating system called Linux that I'd never heard of in my life. And so in order to use this, I had to learn how to use Linux. And so I'm about 12 years old, having to teach myself how to use Linux to get a computer to work. And it was really hard. It had a very sharp learning curve, but I was completely obsessed, and I got into computers in that way. I got really into, it wasn't called cybersecurity at the time. It was, people just kind of called it computer hacking. And we weren't hacking into anything or breaking any laws, but that was what we called it. I kept doing that, like learning more about how computers worked and how you could make them do things that you wanted them to. And eventually I decided that the most likely career path for me was to continue pursuing cybersecurity. It was in very high demand. I couldn't find any direct paths into a cybersecurity career. So I just decided to get a few industry certifications as opposed to going to college or finishing high school. And I completed something called the Offensive Security Certified Professional, the OSCP, which was a brutal certification and training course when I was about 17. And I applied for every security job around the United States that I could possibly find. And I got rejected from all of them, except for one in Washington, D.C. with a mid-size defense contractor, and doing cybersecurity assessment work. And they gave me the interview. They were the only firm that gave me the interview. And I knocked the interview out of the park. I became a security consultant when I was 18, and I moved to DC, and I've been working in cybersecurity since then. That was over 10 years ago.
Wow. So it sounds very James Bond. When I was growing up, there was a movie called War Games about young people that were using their computer to do really cool things. What are some of, if you can tell me, and wouldn't have to kill me afterwards, but what are some of the projects that you work on, and what's a typical day like for you? What are some of the cool things you've been able to do in your career?
That's a great question. So it's important to note that I've been in cybersecurity for my entire career, and my job was historically very, very technical. I was writing a lot of code, using a lot of different systems and products to gain access to systems that we were assessing, uncover vulnerabilities, et cetera. My job now is way less technical. It's far more boring, actually. So now I'm the CEO of a technology company. And so what I really do is I just hire people and send a lot of emails and make sure that that the company's moving in the right direction. So I don't do anything wildly technical anymore. But at the time, I worked on assessing the security. So when I was a security consultant, I was authorized to, but I broke into some of the largest organizations in the world. The way that our assessments worked is every week or two, we had a different target that we had to compromise. These were our customers. And so our customers would say, come and assess our cybersecurity, break into our organization the exact same way that a bad guy would, and write up a report on how you did it. And so I assessed the security of probably a different member of the Fortune 500 every week or every other week. We sent out, malicious emails. We had to trick people into clicking stuff so that we could compromise their computer. I broke into buildings. I broke into universities. Every time we had a assessment that involved a university, I was the only one who would do it because I was the only one who was young enough to pass as a student on my security consulting team. I worked with a number of government customers. I ended up, after I was in security consulting on some really interesting work with the intelligence community. I can't really get into that stuff as much, but it's super rewarding work, and it's really, really interesting.
Okay, caveat here or disclaimer, this was all legal, okay? You are
every single thing that I did was completely legal. So
we are not suggesting you do this to prove it.
No, not at all. I was a pen tester. So a pen tester, that's the career that I was. It was where you're a professional hired computer hacker that's authorized to break into and test the systems of your customers. And so the way that it feels is, Acme company hires you to break into their own systems and to write up the vulnerabilities that you identify. They give you letters of authorization, et cetera, get out of jail free cards in the event that you get arrested for anything, et cetera. But it's completely 100% legal. We didn't break any laws.
Andrew, going back to when you were in high school and again, your computer breaks, so you're just trying to figure out a way to make it work. There were certain skills, inherent skills that you had, given gifts that you listened to your intuition on, hey, this would be a great career for me, or I'm going to continue on, and you took some incredible initiative for certifications. Speak to that young man who was 18 years old then, or other 18-year-olds, or even fewer, younger, who are thinking about, this is the coolest thing they've ever heard. This guy is Jason Bourne. I want to be like him one day. What are some of the things they can begin doing right now if this is in their natural disposition to get involved with and as a career?
That's a great question. I'm going to try to be as thoughtful as I can about it because I want to make sure I'm going to try to really properly channel the things that would have been really useful for me when I was 17. I would tell people that being really good at something that's valuable and important, and that your gut knows is valuable and important, is extremely important. That will take you very, very, very far. Trust your gut on seeing opportunity. If you really do feel like something is pulling at you and that it's a fantastic opportunity and that it's needed and relevant, corroborate that with other people, but then trust your gut, because there's a good chance that you're probably right. I was really excited about computer work, cybersecurity work, computer security work, and there wasn't a clear path for that, but my gut was right, and it was wildly relevant. It was wildly in demand. And so listening to that and trusting yourself at what you're really good at and what you're really excited about, just enjoying your job a lot, is a huge gift, and it's a huge leg up. When you really enjoy the work that you do, you're going to naturally work harder than the other people around you. And you're going to naturally you're going to naturally get excited about building expertise in that thing. So just really loving what you do is really, really important. And then the last thing I would say is that qualifications are really good for getting you in the door. They'll get you that interview. They'll get you in the room with the right people, but there's absolutely no substitution for your talent and how good you are at what you do. That's incredibly important. I would argue almost more important than anything else is once you have the opportunity, it's completely up to you to get it in your background and your skills, the amount of know-how you have, your ability to communicate, your ability to compromise, your ability to solve problems, et cetera. That's really, really, really important. And everything else is kind of details. So that's some of the advice that I would give to people. The other one would be, if you're going to drop out of high school, be prepared for a rough couple of years because it is hard. It's very hard. And so, it's going to be a lot harder at the beginning. It's not easier. Definitely don't drop out of high school if you want to do something that's easier than what it would have been to just go through to try to properly go through the proper education channels or to go through like a more set path, because it's harder. It's actually way harder. So take that into consideration in all your calculus.
And thankfully, there are so many opportunities that young people can do while they are still in high school. So finish that, get that diploma, and
get the diploma. We didn't have those options when I was doing it. I never had those options. I'm begging you.
We do now. Isaiah, I've seen you smile and nod your head so many times at the things that Andrew is saying. You run a very successful company in the gaming sector. Tell me about your job, your role, and how you got involved in your career. This is fascinating because I know we have a lot of gamers that are wondering how they can transition that skill into a career.
Yeah, I mean, no, absolutely. I mean, it is interesting to see this world of, when we think about parents, they'll go, "Oh, my child is gaming," and and I'm trying to figure out like how are we going to manage that as schoolwork and time management. And when I hear Andrew talk about that, I always go back to this one notion I always tell parents: it's their passion. Like listen to what your kids are really telling you, really the pathway they're going down, and that I'm going to call it the antiquated way is gone. Like it's totally gone, and we want to have these things. But when I think about BlazeFire Games, it is really interesting to see how the gaming world fits into not only cybersecurity, but Andrew alluded to earlier, was around credentialing. So when we started BlazeFire Games, it really spun into our credentialing side, that we had certificates already out there in these what we call workforce development fields. Mm-hmm. We just wanted to make sure that in order for students who may or may not finish high school, or we encourage them, as Andrew said, to finish, have some tool and resources to actually go into that. So we didn't want to just go and create gamers. We wanted to create people to go into the field of gaming, in the term that we call understanding the business of gaming in esports. Like understand what it's like to be the light engineer behind the scenes, understand what it's like to be the marketer or the broadcaster, or the social media strategist, because that's where the real jobs are. It's not about becoming a gamer. It's about working behind the scenes and being in the forefront. I mean, when we think about broadcasters, NASCAR did their first esports event last summer, and this is true story. The commentator broadcaster, our Hannah Storm, who broadcast that, made $200,000 for 2 hours of work. So when you think about that, wasn't a degree they got there. It was the fact they knew how to call a game, broadcast a game over a gaming system. And here it was Jeff and everyone driving, and this person is doing normal broadcasting as if they were on a track, but they were sitting at home calling this out. So when I think about BlazeFire Game, we made our notion that we wanted to encourage people to get into the business of gaming. So when we created this gaming structure, it was about the field and the career path. When I think about even my own kids, right? I mean, Michael, who the company's named after, BlazeFire Game, is 10 years old. And so I live and breathe this all the time. When I think about like last night, it was like, hey, make sure you got all your math done before you do gaming. But in his mind, he can game and do math at the same time. It's back to my notion about when we created this, it was about creating a career pathway, helping individuals from Bamberg, South Carolina, or Allendale, Fairfax, and no matter what color you are, what socioeconomic status you are, we wanted to figure out how we could help people from all walks of life. Because I've always shared with people, gaming is like music. It is the one thing that brings people together. And it's like, I'm like, you never will see a fight break out in a gaming place. Never. It is the one place where a 60-year-old can be with a 15-year-old with blue hair, and it's all like-minded. And so I believe gaming is a way to unify people. So when we created this company, now as we operate in 100 plus countries, in the last couple of years, we've grown this, but our goal now is to create minors and degrees in this. But we wanted to start at the high school level with dual enrollment credits because we needed to find those Andrews in the 9th through the 12th grade. We didn't need to wait until Andrew was going to college. We're like, well, why don't we help them do game design in the 9th grade and the 10th grade? And so I'm really happy that we're working with some of our CTE partners there in South Carolina so we can actually create that dual enrollment credit.
CTE meaning career technology education. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We talk in acronyms sometimes, but I want to make sure that parents know that there are these professionals in each one of our counties that are trying to get young people into these careers that they are passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely, Hannah. Great point. Thank you. There are over 300 plus college and university that now offer scholarships in esports and gaming. Ohio State, one of the top universities out there, offers a bachelor's, MBA in that program. And I look at our South Carolina schools. Coker College just offered several students scholarships out of Florence School District 1. I mean, how exciting is that when you're like, well, now parents like, now we all know how much Coker costs, right? So when you think about that, you're like, wait a minute, you're saying I don't have to pay that $60,000? I mean, and so what you were doing in that room when I was saying, do your homework, this actually pays off and you still get a degree in whatever field you want, engineering. Clemson has a great program. I'm really excited that Benedict College will launch their minor and bachelor's this fall in esports and gaming. So again, when you think about somebody like myself who's from Sumter, South Carolina, I was like, Andrew, I was like, so here's what I like doing. You know, marketing was my thing. I just figured out how to turn that into my love of technology. And that's where, when we think about where BlazeFire Gaming come from, it is to find those kids in Allendale, Fairfax, or Manning, South Carolina, and Somerton, South Carolina, and say, turn your passion into what Jeff Bezos once said to me. Isaiah, you don't choose your passion chooses you. That's our goal. Help the Andrews of the world choose their passion because it's already been chosen.
Great advice from one of the world's greatest leaders, no doubt about it. Andrew, that must be music to your ears to hear all of these programs that are now launching these opportunities for young people. But going back to where you were in high school, there are also new opportunities as well for certifications and hard skills that young people could begin working on right now. So the same way that you learned the program that would help you launch from the CD, and forgive me, like I said, I'm taking notes. I probably will not be the next professional in this. I'm going to leave that to y'all. But certifications, tell me about this because I want to make sure that I call out these names of things that may have just kind of passed someone's eye line or ear sight or ear space to know. Things like Scrum Master, AWS Certified Developer, Cisco Certified, Agile, Java, Amazon Web Services, Python, Azure. What are all of these things, and are these things that if a young person is super passionate about learning now, that they could do on their own time, or dual enrollment or certification outside of college?
Yeah, it's the acronyms and terms that you just listed off are actually a total grab bag of different things. Java is a programming language that you can get certified in. AWS stands for Amazon Web Services, which is Amazon's cloud offering. Scrum Master would be a certification, and Agile is a business process philosophy. These are all terms that they represent a skill that can be measured in varying ways. And one of the ways is to go to any kind of accredited firm and study up, take a test, and prove that you understand the content of it. It's going to be that much easier for you to get a job in a field in technology, because you can prove to your employer preemptively that you understand these things, you're familiar with them, and you have some expertise in them.
And Hannah, and I'll add to that. So parlay that to gaming, what you just called out, that is a field that gamers, those gaming companies like EA, because you see Madden Sports, they're looking for those web developers, right? Like that is a career pathway. So when we look at BlazeFire Game, we offer those credentialings in those fields of what Andrew is speaking of. But we also look at the fact that you can actually turn that into a social media strategist role. All of it all ties in by when you're picking up those skill sets. You may not use it for that with those credentialing, but you may use it to go work behind the scenes at a Facebook gaming, at a Twitch that is owned by Amazon. So it really actually all ties in for these young students right now to be able to get those credentialing certification right now while they're in high school in a dual enrollment credit program. So I applaud what South Carolina is doing with that.
I'm glad you mentioned that too, Isaiah, because both of you started your own businesses and are moving in your respective directions. But there are a lot of existing companies that have a microcosm of jobs that fall into this particular field. I don't want to forget the opportunity that young people have for coding, and whether you think that's important. That's offered free in a lot of communities in South Carolina. I also want to mention the opportunity to build apps, and how important is it that they build a portfolio of things that they're doing for these jobs if they are to apply for existing companies as opposed to their own startups?
Yeah, I mean, and I look at like Riot Games. Like Riot Games does League of Legends, one of the biggest companies out there, right? But what they have a middle school curriculum of how you can create games in an academy in a 6-week summer program. So picture that you're 6th through 8th grade and you've already started building your own game and being able to license that, and now being able to learn how to protect that so you have royalties and you can create a 529 college plan, and you're now charting your path for your future versus I'm just playing games. And no, let's show you how to create games. So you're right when you speak of this career pathway, is that you can start as early as middle school. I mean, we go as far as back as elementary school, but let's be realistic of what can actually happen. So yes.
You just got parents' attention because you said that young people could make money and put it into their college fund.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's the best feeling in the world when you know your kid is already coding and getting into that. But we always tell everyone that if your kid has a passion for writing, if you hear your kid singing and writing, then that kid, now your child also can be a script writer on the back of a game. If you hear your kid singing, wait a minute, pay attention, because now your child can actually now create music and beats that you can license on the back of a game. Again, listen to what your child is doing versus, oh, I hear him screaming. He or she may be singing during that. And now you have someone. That's the skill set.
I want to just briefly agree with everything that Isaiah is saying right now. Specifically, like the gaming industry is absolutely massive. It is the market is gigantic. Esports, especially outside the United States over the last 10 years, have been exploding. I'm friends with a number of individuals in the venture capital community and in the investment community. And over the last few years, where I'm used to hearing them talking about investing in fast growing technology companies, though that is what they still do, I'm starting to hear them more and more investing in esports companies and investing in professional gaming teams, which is mind blowing. So, I mean, I can confirm every single thing that Isaiah is saying right now.
Yeah, it's a $3 billion industry, Hannah. And
growing.
Double digit, like growing every day. It's nonstop.
So you've heard about Isaiah's journey in the gaming. You've heard about Andrew in cybersecurity, both doing some really cool things in that space for those young people who, again, just love technology that are in that headspace. But I want to mention a couple of other occupations because, again, we just keep telling you these are real people with real jobs and real openings in South Carolina. So let me run them down. Software developers. web developers, software quality assurance analysts and testers, computer programmers, web and digital interface designers. Again, all professions, all job titles that your young person could work for or work towards in their journey. If you'd like more information about the cybersecurity and e-gaming professions in South Carolina, perhaps some of these programs that Isaiah was mentioning that are opening up in some of the South Carolina schools and universities, the CATE programs, we're going to do our very best to put a lot of information on our webpage about these jobs. All you have to do to get access to that webpage is to email us at workforce@sccommerce.com. Again, workforce@sccommerce.com, and we'll supply you with an exclusive link. It will be secure, by the way. We'll get Andrew to try to hack it. It'll be secure, and it'll have information on those in-demand jobs, the occupation names, more data, maybe some salary information, anything that we can find to equip you in your journey, because that's what we're trying to do, to find the journey, right? We really appreciate you guys joining us. Have a great day.
All right. Thank
Thank
you
you so much.